Such a delight to be here tonight at the Tribeca Festival, and as you know, this is, or maybe you have been told, this is going to be an episode of my podcast, Conan Brien Meets a Friend. And I desperately still need a friend. And I'm out here being a jackass. Because that's what I do. I am thrilled that he's here. We're going to be talking about and going through a book of photos, never before seen, 1964, The Eyes of the Storm. Thrill of a lifetime to be able to say, ladies and gentlemen, Paul McCartney!
No. I would like to hear all the girls give a beaten scream, please.
That's a pitch I don't hear much in my profession. Absolute joy to be sitting with you here. This is fantastic. As you know, this is a podcast listened to billions of people all around the world. Don't laugh at that, that's just me. Hundreds of people around the world. But we have a little tradition, which is we start out, you introduce yourself, and I think you're familiar with a little piece of paper there, and then we're off and running.
Hi, my name is Paul McCartney. I feel wildly elated about being Conan O'Brien's friend.
Oh my God. That's it, good night, thank you. That's all I needed. Paul, let's dive right into it. First of all, this book is extraordinary. You took these photographs, I think you got a Pentax camera.
Yeah.
In 1963. I think you and all the fellas got Pentax cameras, but you were taking a lot of pictures. And then you forgot you had them.
I kind of knew I had them, but I thought I'd lost them. But in the 60s, a lot of people used to leave their doors open. It was all a bit hippie, it was like, yeah, man.
That's your summation of the 60s, was hippie.
That's all I remember.
That's all you remember.
So I thought, well, I've lost them. But I was with a photo archivist in London, Sarah Brown, who was organising an exhibition of Linda's photographs. And during it, I just said, well, I took some pictures in the 60s. I said, but I have no idea where they are. She said, oh yeah, we've got them. I said, oh, right, let's have a look. So yeah, it turned out there were like about 300 pictures.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And it makes me think, what else do you have that you don't know about?
That's another story.
Well, there's so many photos to look at, and there's so many. I look through the book, and I adore this book, and I've been through it many times, and the photos take me in different directions. They really are spectacular. I wanted to start out with maybe technically not the most proficient photo, but one that I think is the right place to start, because you were new with the camera, you're trying something out. Let's put this up, and this is you playing, you're looking into the mirror. What does this bring back to you? Is this you toying with the camera, experimenting?
Yeah, I think so. Just the idea when you get the camera at first was to just take lots of pictures and then see if they turned out. And of course, it's not like digital. You had to wait.
Yeah.
So you took them. And then they went, in England, they went to the chemists, we called it.
Right.
And they go down, they develop it, and then, you know, about a week later, you get your pictures back. So yeah, I think this is me just seeing what I can do.
Right.
And if I could smoke at the same time.
That's very cool. I would like to point out that I think when I talk to young people, when I talk to my kids today, they have no idea about the limitations with working with this kind of camera. We're all so used to the phone.
Yeah.
We can see it right away. And as you said, these came in rolls of maybe 36 photos. You take them, you don't know, and you also, it's not autofocus. You have to figure out what the f-stop is. You have to know all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world.
Yeah, it's, I like it.
Yeah.
You know, but as you say, it did take some getting used to. But we were lucky because we were often around photographers.
Yes.
You know, to be taking pictures of us for this, that, and the other. And so you could talk photography to them, and you could say, what is the f-stop in this situation? What are you shooting? 400 ASA? Okay, well that will be. And some of the rogues would say, F8 of a fortnight.
Just screw with you, yeah.
Just to screw with you.
And also, they probably didn't want to give away a trade secret.
That's probably true.
Yeah. We have.
It was fun, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to move us on because we have a bunch to see, and let's say hi to some of the lads. This is an amazing photo. This is Liverpool, 1963, and what struck me about this photo is that I'm so used to seeing photos where John and all of you are posing for the cameras or pulling a face or projecting that image. Because it's you taking the photo, John is very unguarded.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I noticed getting these photos back, that it's just, it's as if I'm not there, you know, so you're right, he's unguarded. And I noticed it during the exhibition in the book, he's got this little habit of, he's not biting his nails, he's just got a little, he does this all the time. So it's just great to be reminded of it. Because, you know, so long ago, I'd forgotten that he had that little, that's a John thing. So, and you know, particularly because he's not here, it's so lovely for me to see these memories and just remind me of where we were, what we did in those days.
You know what also sticks out in a lot of these photos, because there's a bunch of photos, and we'll see this, where I see sometimes nerves, a little bit of tension. And what's interesting is everyone in this room, myself included, we know how the story turns out. The Beatles, it's this spectacular success that's never been equaled in show business. We all know what happens. But especially in these early photos, you guys don't know yet what's going to happen.
No.
It's a mystery to you in these moments. And people are constantly saying to you, well, you're a big hit in England. When's the bubble going to burst? And sometimes I see this really picking up steam that I see in some of these photos. Is it going to work out? How long is this going to last?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And what I love about them, he said modestly, is the innocence.
Yes.
Because we didn't know we were going to be famous, and we really wanted to be, but as you say, we didn't know, so there's this sort of, we're trying really hard. So if someone says, you know, the photographers, hey Beetle, look over here, you know, you would do it. There was no sort of moody like, later for you.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that comes over just all this early innocence of us.
There's a lovely one here. I absolutely love this photograph. And I feel like we're rapidly getting more sophisticated, you know, and the blur, you know,
the focus now.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, this is just a fantastic, and again, unguarded, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with the Beatles, we knew each other very well before all this happened. So, for instance, with George and with John on separate occasions, I would suggest that we went hitchhiking. So I knew George as a hitchhiking mate. And again, you're talking about we didn't know what was going to happen, but you didn't know if you were going to get a lift. So you shared all of that. You're sitting by the roadside, you know, just cursing the driver that wouldn't give you a lift. and loving the lorry driver who did.
Yeah.
So that's my little hitchhiking mate.
It's funny that that's because it's so personal for you. I often forget how young you guys were. George, the youngest, I think he's 20 here.
Yeah.
And you think about just how young all of you were. It's just, it's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, 20 now, from this perspective, is like really young.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got grandkids older than that. But we didn't think he was young.
Right.
We thought we were kings of the universe.
Yeah.
We smoked cigarettes, man. We had suits, eyes, guitars.
Yes.
We were cool.
Yeah. Thanks for clearing that up. I wasn't sure. Beatles cool or not, you know? But look, I just love the way you captured the smoke. That's a gorgeous photograph.
Yeah, thank you. You know, as you said before, everyone was unguarded. So with photography, what I learned to do was look for the light situations where there was something interesting. And Ringo, like all of us actually, we were smokers.
Yeah.
And but Ringo would do this trick. Ringo was like suave. He had like the best car, and he would drink like bourbon and 7-Up. and when he was going on a date with a girl, he'd put 2 cigarettes in his mouth and light them.
Oh my God.
And then give one to the guy. If it didn't stick to his lip. You know, that was
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
that kind of guy.
I've done that with gum, and they don't like it.
It's not quite so
It's
suave.
not the thing. No, don't try it. We have a photo here that I again, Brian Epstein. And what's nice here is he's such a pivotal character, especially in these early years in your life. And I know what a complicated life he had, and in some ways what a tortured life he had. And you catch him in this moment of he seems at peace and happy. And I think that might be because you're taking the photo.
Yeah. I was very happy to rediscover this picture, as I was with all of them. But something like this, it just reminds you that the story about the Beatles manager, coming to America and all that, he's just some guy. And we thought he was like very old. He was over 30. So to us, that was like, but he was a sweetheart, and he was gay at a time when it was illegal.
That's right.
So, we'd be able to have very interesting conversations with him, and he was very open with us. He was a great guy, very nice man.
And I think, like you guys, a little overwhelmed. It got so big so fast. And I've seen it in different documentaries. I think you're catching it here, which is just no one. He ran a record store just a few years before, and met you guys. And then suddenly he's talking to the biggest people in show business, and they all want a piece of you guys, and he needs to figure it out, which is, I must imagine, overwhelming.
Yeah, but he handled it very well.
Yeah.
He got into that role quite easily. He'd been to RADA in London, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. So he was going to try and be an actor. Didn't work out, but he had a sort of showbiz thing. He had a style which he would advise us with some tricks of the trade. Yeah. So that where the Beatles at the end of every show would do the bow, that was the kind of thing Brian would say, that would look good. So we try it, and he was right.
Yeah.
It felt good, it looked good, but it gave us a little bit of something that other groups didn't have.
This next photo, I don't think anyone here is going to know anybody who's in this photo, but it's fascinating to me because I'm reminded when I look at this book that you're musicians, you're on a bill, and here you are on the back, I think the side of the stage, and you're taking a photograph of a group called Peter J. and the Jaywalkers. And I think they've been lost to us now, but it's fascinating to me to think about you guys waiting to go on. And there's another group, and they have a big saxophone player. You guys opted not to go that route. Poster of us.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Look at that. In Paris. No, I love it. Yeah, no, it was great. You know, we didn't expect Paris to have posters of us, because the French were a little late in getting the Beatles. You know, in England, like, there was a lot of screaming and girls and stuff going mad for us. When we went there, it was quite sort of, you know, come on, prove yourselves. So we did. We had to work it. So yeah, it was exciting just to see us up in lights, as it were. And the French, to this day, call me Paul McCartney.
Clearing the throat, I think, more than anything else. I love this photo of, such a great shot, John, George, and this is, I think I recognize this, it's from a very famous picture that you guys took outside the Olympia, I think theater, bright blue bricks, and it's a very iconic shot of you guys, but I think you grabbed this is probably in between takes with the photographer, and I think you might have grabbed this shot. And you can see, again, this is you guys at work. This is in between, in taking a photo session, and this isn't the, hey, we're the Beatles, it's guys working.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, seeing them after all these years, what good looking boys.
You say in the book, you talk about how we were all beautiful when we were young, and I beg to differ. I've got some photos I'll show you when I was 20. It's not so good. But you guys obviously looked spectacular. What I love, another aspect of your perspective here, is the world is looking at the Beatles at this point, but you guys are looking back. And this is a great shot of what it was like to be you and the other guys. And actually the gentleman in the hat, very famous photographer who took a lot of great snaps of you guys. Is that Dezo
Hoffman.
Dezo Hoffman.
Yeah, who was Slovak. Yeah, he became a good friend, you know, so, but he would get out with all the other photographers and snap us. But yeah, we saw this a lot. And so I thought, well, yeah, I'll take a picture of them, it looks so good, you know, all lined up. So yeah, but this was a daily occurrence.
Yeah, you get used to this very quickly, but it's fascinating to, when you're being photographed, to turn the tables and say, I can do this to you.
Yeah.
Which is really fun.
And you see the look on their faces, they quite liked it.
This next one might be one of my favorite photos because of its honesty, and again, I think only you could get this, is John. And again, biting...
He's doing that thing again, yeah.
And I see vulnerability and I see some anxiety. It's, I could be reading into it, but that's what it feels like to me.
I don't know about the anxiety, but vulnerability is very true.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, I didn't really know that. Later, when I thought, as an adult, about John's upbringing, he had a really tragic life, really. Because, you know, as a kid, his mother was decreed to not be good enough to bring him up. Julia, his mom, who we would visit, and he loved her. I wrote a beautiful song about her. But she had to give him up. The father, Alf, had left the home when John was 3.
Yeah.
So that's not too wonderful. And so John grew up with these sort of little minor tragedies throughout his life. He was taken in by his Aunt Mimi, and was brought up by her. But one night, Mum, Julia, was visiting them, come to see her son, and on the way home she got run over, got killed by apparently it was an off-duty cop who maybe was a bit inebriated. It never came out, of course. They cover it up. But so John was having that, you know, taking off his mum dies, you know, so it made me realise why he had that vulnerability.
Yeah.
I always admired the way he dealt with it. Because I'm not so sure I would deal that well with the stuff he went through.
Also, you have it's him with his glasses on. These are very thick glasses, because and that was something that was kind of verboten, is shots of John with his glasses on when the photographers are around, but it's you, so he can have his glasses.
Yeah, that's right.
Really sweet.
But he was very short-sighted, as you can see by the glasses. But
I'm sorry, I advanced. But,
that's okay. If you can just spoil my story, it's okay. To Idlewild, as it was then, before it was named Kennedy. And so the word got back to us that there's a big crowd at the airport. Oh, wow, getting exciting. So yeah, we kind of half knew what to expect, but then it was a really big crowd.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we were just bowled over.
Yeah.
It was America, where all the music that we loved came from. So we were just happy to be there, and then with a big crowd of admirers, screaming girls, it was great. And then what was nice after that, immediately we did a press conference at the airport, and it was like, hey, beat up, you know, all that again. But we knew that whatever they laid on us, if there was any sort of insult, we knew we could come back with, well, we're number 1 in your country.
That's called a mic drop. Yeah. It's a great shot.
Well, thank you. You know, the thing is, we were so fascinated being in America, seeing American life, American cars, American buildings, New York. So, yeah, you know, if people are running up the street, that's, to us, that was fascinating. You know, wow, we've made it.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure that I wrap this up. I have to tell you that I have been lucky enough to be in my business now for 30 some odd years, and I get to talk to everybody. I can't think of a single person who's brought more joy to more people than you. And you just don't stop making really lovely, beautiful music. And so when I arrived here today, someone in your group said, well, thanks for doing this, Conan. And I said, what are you talking about? This is an absolute joy and a thrill, and can't think of anything cooler than to get to spend an hour with you and look at these photos. So I think on behalf of everybody here, I want to say thank you, Paul McCartney.